The darkness and the light, pyramid ships and the traveler, and underneath it all, humanity, just trying to live and make sense of the universe, trying to organize, find causes to believe in, and understand right from wrong. Unsurprisingly, humanity's search for answers through faith and religion predates the traveler's arrival to Earth, but with the traveler came the Golden Age, and with the darkness, the collapse, leaving us with the question, what survived? Welcome back, my friends, to another Embrace Destiny video. Kaz PhD here. Today we're going to discuss religion and faith in Destiny. Continuing our Life in Destiny series, today we will provide answers to what religions survived the arrival of the traveler, the collapse, and what exists now. Given the pyramid ships on our horizon, many are looking for answers, and I thought it pertinent that we discuss this topic and help better understand humanity in its current city-age context. For many Guardians removed from humanity as they fight distant battles, I thought it important to remind you of the fear, faith, and resolve of those we are trying to protect. For those on the go, remember to check out the timestamp below for the short answer. Before I go on, I feel I must make a few things clear. I am not an expert in religious studies, nor in theology. I am interested, yes, biased from my own upbringing, of course, but I am doing my best to present what we have found in the lore, as well as my own interpretation of it. On top of that, I want to set a few definitions, as I will be using them. Religion is a particular system of faith or worship, and/or a system of etiquette, outlook, similar to philosophy, but incorporating other elements. Faith is a trust, belief, or confidence in something. This is how I will be using these terms as we go forward. With that out of the way, let us start the analysis, as we often do, by going back to the pre-Golden Age, before humanity had even heard of the Traveler. Records indicate there were a vast variety of religions, as widespread and diverse as the human population itself, touching every culture all over the world. Wars were fought over it, political and social structures were founded on it, and even financial practices incorporated or avoided religion. Holidays, rituals, cultural bias, manner of speech, value systems, as in what a culture or society valued, often had ties to some religious thinking or teaching or another. The Traveler's arrival changed the course of humanity. Great cities were built on other planets, technology and science evolved by leaps and bounds, and human lifespan tripled. Records from this time are sparse, mostly focused on specific scientific projects related to the Traveler. However, some specific references to religion can be found, curiously, on Earth, the Moon, and on the moon of Titan. Before the Traveler was given that name, humanity grew very concerned over this wandering orb. Calling it Moon X, it seems cults and protests grew quickly, aggressively demanding governments to act toward this new presence, this potential new threat. Excerpts from the Hardy's Calm Helmet and the Tiao Strides reads as follows. Wish I had the same faith in humanity. That riot between competing Moon X cults in New Orleans is not a good sign. And there were protests all over that day. The Moon X cults were in full force, calling for all governments to combine. So, before it was called the Traveler, humanity was greatly concerned, calling it Moon X, forming cults around it, and demanding governments to work together. More than that, the cultists were demanding that governments combine, at least forces, but maybe sovereignty as well. Details from this time period are limited, but this pressure did seem to work. Humanity would eventually more closely align, and an expedition was formed to seek out Moon X. However, these cults, more a result of fanaticism and fear than worship, did not block out or erase or make irrelevant the religions which came before it. Not at all. The journal of Commander Quang Xuan is very illuminating here. Gifted to the Guardian by Eris Morn prior to the events of Shadowkeep, Commander Xuan's journal details the events surrounding research conducted on the Moon during the Golden Age. Here, her team were investigating an anomaly, a transceiver of sorts found on the Moon, which was giving off tremendous and unusual energy readings. Working with Clovis Bray, the commander's team were trying to find the connection between this anomaly and the Traveler, the only other source of such energy. While further narrative and technical details can be found in the Revelation lore book, Commander Schwann's journal takes a more personal approach. Here, she refers to her education, her training, and how it informs her approach to the situation. And it reads, "Expect nothing, and you will be prepared for anything." This was a lesson my master taught me, over and over, in the simulators of Su-Kabao. She was a third-stage Anagami monk of the Tibetan Neo-Vibhajavada Theravada school, a new and unorthodox presence in Tibet, but one with ancient Indian and Sri Lankan roots. And a little later on, "The House of Wisdom," my master would tell me, "excels at mathematics and logic. Islam gave us algebra, and even our digits are Arabic. This is why the Shura certified commanders are the finest pilots in the solar system. But zero belongs to the Buddhists. The most vital skill of a Sati certified commander is that inner nothingness, like the quantum vacuum, empty, and yet saturated with possibility." So we learned that there were schools, or houses, during the Golden Age, which seemed to combine religious teachings, science, and training, and the commanders of these scientific missions were trained in these schools. Commander Schwann was trained in the House of Wisdom by a Tibetan monk of the Neo-Vibhajavada Theravada school. Vibhajavada is a Sanskrit term, roughly translating to those who analyze teachings. Theravada, from the Pali language, translates to School of the Elders, and refers to those who closely follow the teachings of Buddha. Theravadins, and especially Vibhajavada-focused Theravadins, examine the world through the lens of Dhamma. Dhammas are constructs of the mind, focusing on understanding the cosmic rules of order and universe. So, Commander Schwann was trained in one of these schools. Here, she learned not only mathematics, but a more philosophical approach to understanding, analyzing, and categorizing the universe around her. The commander's commentary suggests that there were also Islamic schools, with similar goals but a different approach. These schools have been referenced elsewhere, specifically in the lore book, The Last Days of Kraken Mare. This book details the events leading up to the effects of the collapse on Titan, and makes references to these two schools. What can we understand from this? Well, we have specific reference to religion persisting the arrival of the traveler. In these cases, religion has taken on a very practical approach, incorporated into mission training, balancing philosophy with science. It should be noted, as always, that a lack of other references does not disclude something's existence. We'll talk more on that later. How about the collapse? Did any pre-Golden Age religions survive? Well, the short answer is we do not know for certain. It is difficult to certify that these religions continue to be practiced today in the city, because while there are numerous references to names, structures, and teachings which have a religious origin, there's little reference to specific practice and worship. We have certain events, such as the Dawning and Festival of the Lost, which draw inspiration from pre-Golden Age religions, but their focus is generally less specific, incorporating various traditions and values. At the same time, there are numerous interpretations, philosophies, and faiths all directed at better understanding the light, the traveler, and the darkness. The Darkness Grimoire card lists several of these, from the Pujari position, which believes the darkness is an actualization of evil, others who believe the darkness is composed of those who sinned against the traveler, Ulan Tan's more symmetrical approach in believing that both dark and light are in a cosmic balance, and even those who believe the traveler itself caused the collapse. Several examples from the Cult of Osiris through to the naming of one of our city's leading factions, Future War Cult, demonstrate that humanity still looks for spiritual, religious, and philosophical leadership. We see time and again that people are looking for answers, and can become quite organized and passionate in their assembly. The prevalence of cults arising through the city age, alongside the presence but ultimately unknowable existence of the traveler, has caused quite a disruption in humanity's belief systems. More simply put, the arrival of the traveler, which has granted humanity not only intelligence, a longer lifespan, but also death-defying guardians, may have disrupted the religions of the past. Many lessons and teachings were likely lost during the collapse, not just by the environmental destruction, but because certain religions may have held less appeal or relevance during the Dark Age, or may have found tougher footing and acceptance given the presence of a godlike being, granting power for no clearly defined reason at all. However, the opposite is just as true, and maybe even more so. We now know that certain religions survived the arrival of the traveler. Despite its presence granting us gifts and technological advancement, religions survived. It is fair to assume that religions other than the Islamic or Buddhist faiths and practices also survived, but have just not been mentioned or discussed so far in the lore. While we have no specific knowledge that these religions survived the collapse, we have seen that humanity is not bereft of faith. Humanity continues to search for answers, seek out meaning, and to find solace in the power of belief. Certain religions and cults have sprung up around understanding the traveler, and I believe older traditions may persist, finding a way to work with or around the traveler. When I originally brought this idea up, there were those who demonstrated disbelief, wondering how religion could persist when the traveler is overhead. Well, first, religion is more than purely the worship of a deity. Religion involves a combination of spirituality, philosophy, social values, rituals, and practice, which would not necessarily be disrupted by paracausal forces. Faith, one of the driving forces behind religion, is very strong and resilient. It is important to remember how religions have survived all kinds of calamity, social, and political change. Further still, neither faith nor religion are usually deterred by outside forces. The traveler's existence may cause some to question their faith, but for others it would be renewed and strengthened, especially since the traveler offers very few answers or guidance, which religion aims to provide. For us guardians high in our tower, the short answer is this. The Islamic and Buddhist religions persisted through the arrival of the traveler, mentioned in the Shadowkeep Collector's Edition journal and in the Last Days of Kraken Mare lore book, showing those two religions used as the mission training backdrop to scientific expeditions to the Moon and Titan. The city's celebration of the Dawning and Festival of the Lost clearly draw inspiration from earlier religions, but are less specific and not tied to any one practice. Several groups, cults, and religious teachings and practices have sprung from the arrival of the traveler to better understand the light and the darkness. There are currently, as of the season of arrivals, no specific confirmation of any pre-Golden Age religion since the time of the collapse. However, there is also no evidence to suggest that these religions don't exist, and as religion and faith are both strong, persisting, resilient features of humanity throughout history, it is safe to say that there is still plenty of room in our city for faiths of all kinds. The traveler can fit in quite well with most religions, and religions themselves are quite important to all cultures. And that's it. That concludes today's video looking at the life of Destiny. I hope you have found our discussion fun and interesting. I know that there are so many more avenues we could explore with this, and maybe we will in the future. For now, I just wanted to speak specifically about pre-Golden Age religions and life in the Last City today. The world of Destiny is certainly not without a strong and diverse representation of faith. While the collapse severely hurt humanity, one thing it has done is bring us all together in one place, celebrating the diversity left to us, rather than allowing us to pursue cultural isolation. In any case, thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to check out the rest of the series if you haven't. I hope you are all enjoying Season of Arrivals. Feel free to leave your comments down below and or follow me in the links in the description for more. As always, be safe, be kind, and we'll see you all next time, Guardians. Bye now.